What about a fucking panda? And this was extremely loud, and I hope it didn't bother you, because I actually had the speakers on my laptop, and you might have actually heard the sound of the intro just twice, because it's in the video, and because through the microphone, which might not be that great, I guess. But yeah, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. I'm pretty pumped, but I do just have to go on quite quickly because I'm in a hurry. Because I actually do have quite only, a few minutes left. A few minutes left. And I do just have to do so many different things. For example, doing the podcast, it takes away half an hour, quite. Then I do just have to upload the podcast, upload the video, make the thumbnail, actually learn art and do some homework in art history. I unfortunately forgot. Then I do just have to learn physics, which is not quite that simple and that easy, for me at least. And I do just have to do the posts. Yeah, I actually do have to make them, have to think about things, and you know what I'm going to do? During the whole thing, I'm actually going to write them down. I would just actually like to write them down on a text file thing, but I guess it would be too loud for the episode. But yeah, we will just go ahead with how is it called? Give and Take. I think it's Give and Take by Adam Grant. Up to this point, I think it's quite a great book, so I do really hope and I do think that you can get something out of it. But yeah, this is the only thing that I'm quite, concerned about, that there is nothing in it and I'm just wasting my time and your time and everyone's time. But yeah, I'm gonna go through it. So excited, so under pressure. Under pressure. Do you know the song? I really like it. So venture capitalist David Hornick was cited as a main example of an inveterate giver. His reputation for being hardworking and helpful gives him a signing rate of 90%, compared to an average 50%. Examples of his giving include starting a blog and openly describing how venture capital works, thus giving away trade secrets and weakening their position over companies, and running a conference called The Lobby, where other venture capitalists or venture capital firms were invited to meet potential investee companies. He creates the world he wants to live in. Give and take converse three aims. Explain why giving is more stressful. So this is quite, I think, at the end of the actual... Is it? No. Because we're actually in chapter 1. Actually, I found out right now. And by the way, I'm sorry if I'm looking quite sweaty, because I am. Because before I ate something and whatsoever, I did do my workout and I just decided to actually just do the episode before I just hop into the shower, because while I'm into the shower, I can actually just upload this one and also do some other things that would just, waste a lot of my time and would just take my time. So yeah. So the first thing is that Give and Take covers explain why giving is more successful and less dangerous than most believe. Separate givers at the top and bottom of the success ladder. So basically, I hope they will show, because it was somehow strange that they actually pointed out, or he actually pointed out, that often there is a giver at the bottom and there is a giver at the top of a company or of whatever, which is bad, because then it would be nice to see, okay, how could it be just the successful giver and not the one on the bottom? And I do think this is just the thing that this kind of just point will aim for. And the last one is show what's unique about the giving style of success compared to taking and matching. And then there's something in brackets. Reputation is important here. People will come to you with a preconception of what you're there for and match your style. If you're known to be a taker, people will be wary of your every action and question your motives. If you're known as a matcher, people will come to you only if they feel like they have something equal to offer. So let your reputation precede you. Makes sense. It really makes sense that people actually, people actually just, figure it out. And I do just really believe that people understand a lot of things. People really, I'm just gonna write that down. People really understand a lot of things, whether it be some psychological thing, but on quite the surface. So they're not consciously thinking about it or talking about it, but most of them just notice things. They notice when something is wrong. They just have it in their gut. Yeah, I do really think that, yeah. I can't even give you an example, but this is just what I believe, what I think that just, I don't know. People notice a lot of shit. But yeah, we will head to chapter 2, the peacock and the panda. How givers, takers and matchers build networks. Networks provide private information, diverse skills and power, as well explain in the give and take summary. Givers tend to create more helpful networks than matchers or takers. Which is a little bit interesting. I kind of thought, like, just at the moment, that the taker is actually the one that has the best network, because he just wants to take, or she just wants to take a lot of things and take everything wherever he can, and from whomever he can, and then it would make sense that he has, according to his kind of happiness trigger thing, if you want to call it like this, that he has such a network that he can just take and take and take, and there's just unlimited things to take. But it doesn't seem to be like this. So weak ties and dormant ties. The core of why giving works seem to work. So the core why giving works, or at least seems to work, is that you can't perfectly predict who will be useful to you in the future. You really can't. Sorry, I'm gonna write it down. Because how should you, And then I really understand why being a giver makes sense. Because you're giving to everybody, you're being nice to everybody, you're just being the kindest person to every single person. Then your chances are way higher that one of these persons just might be successful in the future or can help you in the future. And therefore, because you were such a nice person, he or she will help you. Gonna be useful in the future. So someone you help might unpredictably become your boss or client in the future. If you selectively target only people you believe will help you, you ignore all the proven people whose connections would have turned out to be helpful. Plus, because most people professionally tend to be matchers, the lower status people you help as a giver tend to really appreciate your giving. Besides the whole fact that you might just, have a great future and might have a great network for future, doesn't it just feel good? I mean, like, yeah, if you're just giving and giving and giving and you're never just thinking about actually taking something, it just feels great. You're just making somebody's day eventually, and you're just helping someone out. Just, I'm sorry, enormously. This could actually be the truth. You could actually be the one that helped somebody just overcome something that's so tragic, or that's so enormous, or so something that, for me, it just makes sense somehow. And yeah, it's just great, isn't it? Actually, I was thinking about actually writing it down, and I think this is actually one of the things that I was just emphasizing a lot in the past. And it's always somehow very, very difficult to come up with just 10 new things, or just eventually new formulated things a day. It is very difficult, and it's not something that's too easy. But through all the things that I'm going through, and through all the things that I can think of and that I just experience every single day, it somehow works out every single day. Somehow. It really does. So plus, no. So takers and matchers take advantage of the reciprocity tendency. They offer favors to people whose help they want in the future. But there are two downsides. First, their recipients often feel like they are being manipulated. This ends up feeling like a transaction more than a meaningful gesture. Second, matchers tend to build smaller networks than givers or takers because they help only people whom there is an immediate benefit. Thus, matchers tend to have a smaller network of quite pro quo ties. It makes sense, if the matcher's just character trait or whatever it is actually called is actually like, I want to give something, this is what I want, but also I just want to get something back. Then it just makes sense, that you're only interacting with people who can give you something that you eventually need or want or whatsoever. And it then also makes sense, okay, there might not be as many people as, in a giver's network because he just wants to give things to everyone. It makes sense. It really does. So surprisingly, people are much more likely to benefit from weak ties than from strong ties. Isn't a tie also like the thing you're having on your neck, with a suit or something? No, I guess it's something else. So like your close colleagues and best friends, strong ties tend to be people belonging to the same group whom you interact with consistently, thus limiting access to new ideas. In contrast, weak ties provide access to information and people from different niches, facilitating creation of new leads. And read about how weak ties promote social movements in the book The Power of Habit, which was actually also one of the books that I thought about going through, but there was something that I decided just not to. I don't remember what it was, but it was somehow striking. So that I thought like, okay, I just want to go through give and take, also because I just am interested in what's in this book, and the whole habit thing is. It's not common sense. It's not what I want to say, and there's probably still something I don't know. So if you're interested in habits, just go on the alanchang.com website and go to The Power of Habit by someone. It's a very famous book. It's still, or I assume, it's a great one. So Adam Grant introduces a type of weak tie, a dormant tie, someone whom you used to see often but have since lost touch with. Givers and takers both tend to have more dormant ties than matchers, as explained above. It totally makes sense because, a matcher just has connections with people he can get something from immediately. Like, he doesn't want to give and not get something. And then makes sense, okay, you just have new connections and new connections and new connections, and only those who just can give you something, and eventually you will just kick somebody out, and then there will be someone else. But takers and matchers are disadvantaged in reactivating dormant ties. Takers may have carried a bad reputation with them, prompting even matchers and givers to punish the taker. Matchers have an easier time because there is less ill will, but they feel uncomfortable reaching out to weak ties because they may already owe a debt to the weak tie. Could actually be. Dislike the creation of a debt or never have developed a warm, trusting relationship rather than a transactional one. In contrast, givers have major advantages in reconnection. Givers a history of helping you. So they have a history of helping others, so you feel happy. So givers a history of helping you, so you feel happy when they contact you again. Givers tend to be asking for help for someone else, not themselves, prompting people to add value rather than trade value. Also, since most people tend to prefer justice, they will reward givers who have a reputation of acting generously to others. I'm just gonna read this again, I guess. So givers tend to be asking for help for someone else. It makes sense, because they do not want to trade, they just want to give. And not themselves, prompting people to add value rather than trade value. Also, since most people tend to prefer justice, they will reward givers who have a reputation of acting generously to others. And it makes sense. I do really think that people like to give. And people really like to give, and I do think that people actually also like to give back when they have, when they have gotten something, Even it may have been just, 20 years ago or something, and, the giver just hits you up again, and maybe he just needs something for another person, and then, maybe the giver as well gets something, or at least something like nice words, which is totally incredible, I guess, And I do really feel like, because I'm just thinking about something interesting. There are two less nice words outside there. It's just incredible, I guess. Maybe it's just my town, maybe it's just my region, maybe it's just my country. But in my countries, in Austria, it's not very common that you just, tell compliments just to random people. I do think in the States it's somehow differently, as what I've seen just over the past lifetime, I guess. It just feels for me like to be way more like, not direct, I don't want to say direct, but like, okay, if people see something that's nice about another person, they will just kind of say it, and they just point it out, which is great, I think, And I would totally say, okay, if you see a person who's just wearing great clothes, or who is just, acting cool, or is dancing cool on the street or something, tell them, For sure, it is completely something different, talking about it and actually doing it, which is addressed for me or on me or at me. But still, I think, it could make the world a greater place, a total greater place. So Adam Rifkin, whoever this person is, I don't know, and he seems to be a super giver. So entrepreneur Adam Rifkin was identified as a top connected person by Fortune by virtue of the most LinkedIn connections to the top 500 CEOs and other influential people. He built his network over decades, developing with every small gesture of kindness and genuine desire to help people. For instance, Rifkin was a fan of Blogger founded by Eve Williams. When Blogger ran out of money, he offered a contract to Eve to build something and keep Blogger afloat. Eve went on to co-found Twitter, and Meta wouldn't necessarily appreciate the value of helping a sinking startup. Totally, makes sense. But Eve, he offered a contract to Eve to build something and keep Blogger afloat. Eve went on to co-found Twitter. Amazing. It's really amazing. And I do just think, if you're the person who has given something to someone who got so enormously, I don't want to say famous, but successful. Yeah, it was successful. Doesn't it just feel great? Doesn't it just feel great that you can think like, okay, I have been the person who just, helped him do that. It just feels great. At least for me. Maybe it's just my perception or my view. But yeah. So, in another example, Rifkin was connected to a venture capitalist through a connection made 4 years earlier, when he helped a punk rock fan who happened to be the founder of search engine Excite. Adam Grant, which is actually the author of this book, gives Rifkin as a clear success case of a giver. Yeah, it makes sense. He seems to be a nice person, at least, what I can just, pick out of this 100 words. No, I really guess maybe I'll just look him up afterwards. He now runs 106 miles, a network of entrepreneurs, and he gleefully connects people in the group and answers questions even from the most helpless. Is this a word? Hapless. It's HAP and then less. I didn't know that It's actually really nice because what I see is that Alan Chang, so the author, and I hope he's actually called Alan Chang, I don't know, he's actually using, I think, proper language. You know, he sometimes just puts in words that are just, you know, something that I don't know because they're so over the top of my level that it's just nice to see them and just be like, okay, I know I've seen the word and I know what it means, and it is just great. It is just great because, yeah, it's quite just as, yeah, it's just in the middle of just being too complicated and being just, I don't know, kindergarten or something, so that I can also learn just something about the whole language, which would be nice, which would totally be nice. But where did I stop? As a last small example, he has written 265 LinkedIn recommendations for others compared to 49 inbound ones. He believes by a maxim, the 5-minute favor. You should be willing to do something that will take you 5 minutes or less for anybody. Write that down. I actually should do this more. You know, it just is great. You know, I can get a lot of information. I just, you know, use my time very, very efficiently because I have new ideas. I actually just memorize those things way better because I'm writing them down. It's just great. What is it called? The 5-minute favor. The 5-minute favor. I just hope that I can actually read it afterwards. I'm just spelling it so fucked up. Nevertheless, so giving is contagious. Studies show that giving is contagious. The social network experts folder / Christakis found that a giver can influence members of the group to give in the future, even when interacting with people who weren't present in the original group. The experiment was a cash giving scenario where each person in a group of 4 had 2 choices. The first one was receive $3 and give 0 to everyone else. The second was give $2 to all members of the group. So give $2 to receive 0 and give 0. At the end of each round, the behaviors are revealed. In this scenario, all people are better off if everyone gives, but giving is a risky strategy, as if you're a giver in a group of takers, you perform the worst. Despite this, some people were consistent givers, and this inspired other group members to give. These consistent givers ended up with 26% of more money than participants from groups without a consistent giver. Despite earning less on each personal transaction, they benefited overall by inspiring others to give to him and each other. Great. It really is great. Similarly, in ordinary life, giving inspires more giving from others, and ultimately some of this giving leads back to you. I do think, I'm just thinking about something, which is, if you're a giver, does this also mean that you can take things? Because I like to give things. I'm not really into acting like I'm a giver, because you can see by now givers are so extremely nice and great and whatsoever. I don't want to act like this. I'm just feeling like I don't like to take things. And at the moment at least, I think like I do not want to get anything by everyone or by anyone. Especially just really, really expensive things. I don't quite enjoy that much. I like to give. Giving feels so great. I'm trying to do it more. I'm actually just trying to do it more and get it into my fucking head so that I'm doing it more. Maybe I'm just at the moment it's just somehow nothing. I like to give, but I don't like to get something, but I still don't give as much as I could. So am I something like nothing? But I don't know. But I think it's just somehow not a fucked up thing, but something I think that's difficult for givers to actually then take something, But actually, they pointed out on the really top of this summary, I guess, that givers should, try and should be, kind of, in reality. So not like only giving, because this would just be bullshit, Like most of the time you should be giving, but if you're getting something, I think you should take it. It would at least make sense for givers. So this is just what I'm thinking. So Adam Rifkin is actively pushes people he has helped to give to other people, creating a pay it forward effect. In brackets, and this is the inverse of the monkey ladder experiment, when a ladder was replaced with a group of monkeys. If a monkey climbed the ladder, all the monkeys were doused with water. They quickly learned not to climb the ladder, and they quickly discouraged any monkey that tried to climb. Then monkeys in the original group were swapped out for new ones that were never doused but were continued to beat any monkey that climbed. Eventually the behavior persisted even with monkeys that never knew water was in the picture. This may be apocryphal, but it illustrates the power of continuous feed-forward effects. Being a giver gives you first move advantage with matchers. A matcher would rarely initiate a favor without knowing what favor she wants in return. But the giver kicks off the cycle and establishes trust, which invites the good spirit of the matcher. Makes sense. And it does just show, okay, I think you need a fucking giver in the whole cycle, because the taker only wants to take something, and the matcher only wants to just do business with someone that they can get something from. The problem there is that I'm just seeing now is, if there's only matchers and only takers, then it doesn't work. It won't work, because the taker only wants to take something and might give them something just very, very small, just something that's not like in the same proportion as what he got or what she got. And the matcher doesn't want to do business with somebody like this. She or he just wants to get something appropriate back. And because the taker wouldn't do this, because he then would be a matcher, the whole cycle wouldn't be there. And it just needs a giver giving something to a taker, the taker doing nothing, or just the giver giving something to a matcher, because he then makes maybe business with a matcher as well. But what about the giver then? It would be interesting how the whole cycle just looks like, because but I'm just thinking about it quite quickly. Giving a good I read that. I read that. So diagnosing takers, distinguishing as givers. Takers tend to build connections only to gain favors without caring about reciprocating. To avoid rejection, takers become good fakers. How do you tell a false taker? So to avoid rejections, takers become good fakers. And they kiss up to superiors but treat peers and subordinates poorly, as they believe these people have nothing to contribute. They tend to speak in a self-absorbed way, using singular pronouns like I versus plural pronouns like we. In a study of CEOs, takers used 39% singular pronouns, where the average was 21%. And they put themselves front and center on websites and annual reports. I'm just still on every fucking singular post that I'm putting out there, but it just has nothing to do with me being a taker. I guess, at least. It's just because it converts better. People like to see faces. People like to see other people, and this is actually the reason why I do it. But but yeah. So taker CEOs tend to earn more money than other senior executives in their companies. Taker CEOs earn 3 times the salary and 7 times the stock of the next best person, compared to 1.5 and 2.5x respectively on average. With public Facebook profiles, it's easy to research fake takers. Is there actually something in my teeth? Takers tend to post more self-promoting information, feature arrogant quotes, rack up more Facebook friends to get favors, and post vainer pictures of themselves. What are vainer? Okay. On the surface, Ken Lay of Enron looked like a giver. He set up a family foundation, gave $2.5 million to non-profits, and donated 1% of his company's profits. But reality showed he was actually a taker, having condoned schemes that inflated earnings and hid losses. How could he have detected taking behavior before this? Adam Graham presents his evidence. When giving a tour of Wall Street, he recruited employees to appear to be busy traders in an otherwise empty floor. These employees made fake phone calls. In so doing, Lay asked his subordinates to forsake their integrity for his gain, giving them a terrible experience with their manager. Compare his photo in the shareholder annual report to that of another company's CEO. Which seems to be quite a reason for that, an example why he is just actually a taker. Let me see. Actually, I can do this like this. So this is he. And this is now the other picture. Oh. I see, this guy is smiling. And he is he is not. And so compare his photo in the shareholder annual report to that of another company's CEO. Oh, is it the shareholder kind of thing? Or is it another CEO? I guess, the right one is another CEO. What can I see there? You can see his body more. He's smiling, and the right guy is not smiling. Both have a suit. It's clearly not the same picture. I'm just thinking if I'm fucking dumb or if I'm not seeing it. No negative self-talk, by the way. I always have to tell it myself, and I will tell it always loudly if I'm doing it. At least on the podcast. But yeah, I don't fucking know what he means. But what I know is that this episode is ending now. Yeah. I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and success. And still, please remember how you're gonna be remembered, so maybe you just turn into a giver. Maybe yes, maybe not even maybe you should. And with that being said, I see you. Whoa.